Hey guys, it's Nean again with another episode of Surviving the Bronze League, and this is going to be yet another Protoss versus Terran, which is what I'm quite fond of. Well, fond of casting mainly because it's my best win rate. It's what I've got sort of good strategies for, and it's what I actually get matched up most because a lot of Bronze League is Terran, mainly because Terran is the campaign, so people feel confident with Terran. However, since I first saw cast of the game, I've always wanted to play Protoss, so I decided to go Protoss. I played a couple of matches Terran, got a couple of good wins. Sometimes I've just off-raced, but I go for the 9 pylon. The building placement for me at the moment on Tal'Darim Altar is shocking. Mainly because instead of it being a nice narrow choke like on Cloud Kingdom and Shakura's Plateau, it's a fairly wide choke and it doesn't really seem as though there's a big ramp. I don't actually think there is a ramp. So it's a bit weird for me. I placed the pylon way too far out. I'm not going to be able to get a gateway there. I'm not going to be able to get anything there. So I have to put the gateway there. But I forgot to introduce the other player. It is, nameplates again. It is Relic, who is getting the barracks on 12 and has a supply depot already, otherwise he wouldn't be able to get the barracks on 12. But I'm going 9 pylon, 12 gateway, 14 assimilator, which is a pretty standard opening build against Terran as Protoss. I'm not too sure on Terran build orders because, again, I haven't played Terran that much, and I'm not too sure on Zerg orders because I haven't played Zerg that much. But we're going to get one barracks going down here, and depending on what the SCV decides to do, some other things might follow, which is the generally good way to philosophize about things. But I've got another pylon going down, which will help with the wall in here, as well as provide power to this bit. Zealot coming out for me to defend against any early sort of marine scouting, and there's a cyber core going down. A fairly early expansion going down for Relic at 17 supply. I'm actually ahead in supply at the moment because I've just been constantly producing drones. It's one of those things that I've been working on, my macro, trying to always stay ahead in drone count. And at the moment I am 1 ahead in drone count, which is good, and we're right now on the same drone worker count, but that's understandable because he's expanding early and we're at the same army count. However, I've got 50 more army minerals in army because Zealot is double the price of a marine, yet is double as effective on its own, because a single marine only has 35 or 45 hit points, if I can find that lone marine, wherever he is. Yes, 45 hit points. And the Zealot has an effective 150, so it's got triple the health points, and it's also got slightly better attack, as well as the regenerative shield, which I can just pull the Zealot back, leave it for about 60 seconds, and it'll be ready to go back into combat, depending on whether it's got hull damage or not. Completed the wall off here with another gateway and a pylon, as well as the Stargate. Stargate's something that I like to get out and try and keep it slightly visible to Terrans, mainly because in Bronze League there are a lot of Void Ray rushes. It's pretty much any TVP that I've seen, sort of like outside of like my own games. But I used to Void Ray rush a tiny bit. But I decided, no, I'm not going to Void Ray Rush because it's going to be of no use to me in later leagues if I actually get promoted, and it's general bad manners, and I'm trying to be as good mannered as possible. Occasionally I quit without GGing, but that's what happens. Sometimes I get quite frustrated when I get cheesed. But we're going to see the bunkers going down, and double gas at the expansion, double gas at home, and Reactor Tech Lab coming up, so pretty standard, getting combat shields, and presumably going to see some Marauders at some stage, because it is against Protoss, and Marauders are always good against Protoss Stalkers. So we've got a Void Ray out at the moment, and we're getting another one chronoing it out, as well as having 3 Stalkers and Warp Ray. Warp Ray. That would be an interesting unit. It destroys buildings by warping in units inside them. But got Warp Gate research finished, so getting yet another pylon out because I am actually supply blocked at the moment, and we're going to end up with 3 Void Rays. I always like to cap it out at 3 because then it gets a good chance of not being spotted. But we are going to have, if I can control the camera properly, we are going to have the engineering bay going down, important for those upgrades and for those missile turrets, which are so good against the Void Ray rush. But triple bunker, all going to contain marines. Probably that Marauder is going to hop into there as defense against stalkers, but they're on the high ground, so it's fairly hard to attack them. And got some mules out thanks to the orbital command. If we go to units, he's getting concussive shells as well, which is again useful against stalkers if you try and micro them away. But getting more marauders, he's actually now ahead in the drone count, but that's because he's got an expansion, whereas I have not yet. I'm so close to being supply blocked again, but no additional pylon. I realise that at this point I'm pulled the same drone back and go for another pylon. Whereas we've got some defensive missile turrets going down. Got one over here. We've got one down here. And I think we're going to get a couple more shortly. Yeah, we've got one over here. So the mineral line's fairly well protected. Getting the Neo-Steel frame so that those bunkers become even more useful. So he can have a total of 18 marines inside those bunkers. And since they are all combat shielded, when those bunkers do finally go down, they will have even more health. But we've got another missile turret coming down there, and I think we'll have that one finished up, yes. So at the moment, we've got 2 and 4. So 4 missile turrets, which is pretty normal. But then we've got my Void Rays moving in towards the natural, not the natural, towards the main. I'm going to take out the engineering bay. Unfortunately, the Neo-Steel frame finishes, and he can fit an extra 2 marines in. However, he has to decamp all his marines to stop my attack with the Void Rays. Engineering bay is going to go down, and I'm going to take the missile turret down because it causes him a bit of panic. And I'm not sure why Terrans do this, but they always send in marauders. I think it's because they have them either hotkeyed the same or they just panic and draw a massive box over all their units. But they send in their marauders. So now I've got him thinking it's a Void Ray rush. So we are probably going to see a couple more turrets going down. Yes, we've got the engineering bay coming back because you can't build turrets without engineering bay. And we've got siege tech coming up, so we'll be able to siege some tanks up to provide additional coverage for the ramp, other than the 18 bunkered up marines. Yes, we've got a missile turret there, hidden by the foliage. That SCV is just going to stay there. And again, more Void Rays, because it's always important to keep, if you're going to trick your opponent, trick him well. And I continue warping in units with my 4 warp gates, and it's sometime around this point where I begin to transition out of Void Rays and into Blink Stalkers, which because they're anticipating a Void Ray rush, they don't tend to marauder up as much. So Stalkers are quite effective because marauders can't shoot at the air, they can only shoot at ground, and however they are good against stalkers. So we're going to see 2 missile turrets there, which is 200 minerals, I think. Can't well, press the wrong button. Back 10 seconds, so oh well, going to see this mule drop again. But I think it's either 100 or 150. I think it's 100 minerals each. So got 2 of them going down there to prevent any attack coming in from this direction. And still got that one there. Still got the same number pretty much, except we've got an additional one. So he's being quite conservative on the turrets, not like one of the players that we looked at in either episode 1 or 2, who basically just went, Void Rays, so many Void Rays, and built about 17 missile turrets to defend against 3. But yes, we're going to see 2 more coming down here to protect against any Void Rays coming in from the north. And I am going to poke in with 2 more Void Rays to keep that anxiety level up. And to just keep him on his toes slightly. I finally expand after my main starts getting a tiny bit mined out. I've only got 445 on that one left, so going to expand, and then because I've got enough food, I can just instantly dump minerals into probes, and I will do that once I stopped having fun with Void Rays. So go to production. I'm getting air weapons, which in the end wasn't too good an idea. But now we're going for the robo. And here go the 10 probes. So that one's going to go eventually. There we go. 2 probes at a time, populating up my natural. And at the moment, pretty sizable army. About 14 stalkers. None of them have any upgrades yet. And still churning out Void Rays, because why not? I've got the money for it. And it's always good if I do eventually get the missile turrets down, I'm able to focus fire things quite effectively with Void Rays once they're fully charged. They're quite effective for Marauders because Marauders can't shoot air, yet they can shoot Stalkers. So if I keep the Marauders dead whilst my Stalkers wreak havoc inside the main. But I do decide to move some of my Stalkers up slightly to try and group it off into sort of defensive task force and offensive task force in case I actually this sort of group is going to stay behind at home, and I actually think better of going to move out because I have actually seen those 3 bunkers. I think if we go away camera, but yes, I have actually seen those 3 bunkers, so I know that it'll probably be quite painful if I do go in. But we've got the warp prism coming up, and going to start probably warping in some units in a couple of seconds. But natural, pretty much fully populated, 10 drones, possibly 11 there. Yeah, 11 probes there. So main's getting mined out pretty much. 205 left on that, like most mined mineral patch. 200 there, 170 there. So it's not going to last long, and only 950 or so remaining on the two refineries up there. Not refineries, they're simulators. But we're going to have 3 more missile turrets. Sorry, 2 more missile turrets. And oh no, what have we done? We've only gone and added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missile turrets. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. He's gone and done it. He's just gone Void Rays and just started producing missile turrets at the rate of about 20 a minute. And there are the Vikings to go up against the Void Rays should I decide to poke back in. And he's going to start firing at them, which draws my Void Rays back in, which then gets obliterated, and I actually managed to pull. No, I don't. But I've still got 2 down there, and I will stop Void Ray production. Getting Blink now, getting 1 forge up there, adding on additional 4 gateways, taking me up to 8. So I am really going into overdrive mode on this Blink Stalker. Assimilator going down. Blink, 100 in-game seconds left, and another missile turret's going up, and the armory, so Thors will start to pop out. And we have weapons level 1 on the way out for my Stalkers. got a warp prism out in case I need to do any warp prism harass, which wouldn't be a good idea against that many missile turrets, because warp prisms are notoriously flimsy, especially against missile turrets or pretty much anything. But I moved some of my units down onto the ramp, so I've got space to begin warping in even more. And I am actually now going double forge upgrades. So now that those two mineral patches have disappeared, so I can get 1-1 and then 2-2 and then eventually go up to 3-3. So Blink's still coming. He's begun to ramp up his medevac production. And I dump a chrono down on that Nexus, no, not on the Nexus, on the Forge, just to get things going quickly. And vehicle weapons go down for probably the Thors that are about to start coming out once the armory finishes up. And he's actually going double armory, I think. Yeah, and reactored starports for Viking production. And presumably a tech labbed one for either Raven or Banshee production. But that's 15 just in that area. Okay, so now we're over 24, 25, 26. We're up to 26 missile turrets, I think. No, not 26. 8, 16, 24, 32 missile turrets. That might be a slight waste of minerals, considering that his main's getting mined out at a rate of knots, and his naturals not looking too good either. And he's not expanded again. I've still got Void Rays here. My natural's actually looking pretty good at the moment. My main's not so good at the moment, but getting Zealot legs and armor 1. I'm going to get weapons 2 on the way shortly, but infantry armor coming down, and Yamato cannon, I think, and a weapon refit, which I think is Yamato cannon for battlecruiser. But I've decided to throw an immortal out because they're useful against, well, any of the heavy weapons. Send a probe down because it's nice to have a proxy pylon at your opponent's 4th. And we're about to see, there we go, there's a pylon going down. And are there actually even more pylon missile turrets in production? No, there aren't. But he is beginning to ramp up everything, getting Behemoth reactor for the battleships, and we're really getting into endgame tech and fusion core, so battleships. 2 double engineering bay because upgrades, just like I've double forged. And at the moment I am sitting on 1-1, shortly going to be 2-1, sorry, no, 2-2. And there's the Nexus that goes up with those 5 charge lots. I really can't count this game. Those 5 charge lots to defend it. And it's now going to be a pretty sort of simple bit. Finally decides to go and get his 3rd. Has a empty medevac overhead to support in case the mass army decides to attack that one SCV. But we're going to have those charge lots just dancing around a little. Warp in a ton of stalkers because it's a useful place to have a warp in point. I actually bring down the immortals now in the warp prism because immortals aren't the fastest of objects, and warp prism can go over all the annoying terrain and cliffs without hindrance, because it is quite a windy route to get down. But now we're up to 20 stalkers and 8 zealots, and we are seeing a ton of upgrades. That's 5 at the same time for the Terran. So weapons 1, plating 1, stim, infantry 1, no, sorry, infantry 2, and weapons 1. And I'm now on 3, and just about to finish up 2. So begin to take down these rocks, just so that I can set up a third that isn't at risk of being destroyed should the opponent want to take a fourth. But just going to sit here for a while, wait till 3-3, attempt a timing attack, or wait to get maxed. Those are the two choices that I've got at the moment. Nexus goes down up in the top corner, and both assimilators are finished, and that mineral patch isn't going to last for long. But beginning to build up quite a big army, finally drop the immortals down, and I think that this is pretty much going to remain as it is for a couple of minutes. So still got the defense force there. Starport's not being used for the best part of 15 in-game minutes. Begin to slowly transfer drones away as things gradually get fully mined down, just because there's a big expansion here about to finish. But I realise I'm at 140 or 150. I should probably build more pylons, so I set them to work building pylons to give me full coverage, because at the moment I don't have coverage over this area, and I just want to have full coverage in case I need to warp in a ton of units. But that's Nexus going to start corner boosting units out, and if we look at the probe count, 34 to 31, but he does have 8 mules, which puts the income, I'll just flick up the nice graphic, 2040 in his favour, sorry, yeah, 2040 in his favour, and he's got better gas than me, which is slightly annoying, but I have better army and better worker supply than him, which is always a bonus. And of course, mules break easily after 90 seconds, I think it is. But I'm going to begin to bring this army down to this expansion in preparation for attack. These two derp zealots don't know what they're doing so far away from the group, but they are going to decide to go the wrong way, and they shall get set upon by the siege tank. Actually, I find out that zealot's going the right way, and that zealot is going to probably die. Oh no, I managed to get him away from it in time. But we are up to a lot of stalkers now, all of which have blink, and all of which I think, yes, I'm on 3-2 now. Just about to get 3-3-1 when these upgrades finish, and going for High Templar if I need it. I don't think I actually use High Templar in the end, but it's always nice to have the option in case I find that I'm going up against mass marines and need storms. So this will begin to research storms when I remember. I'm not very good at remembering like when things finish, make other things happen. Mainly because I'm concentrating on other things at the time, such as transferring all these drones up to top Nexus. And there goes Scythe Storm. Got enough, just rearranging my army so that the charge lots are at the front, acting as the cannon fodder, for so that the blink stalkers can just begin to obliterate everything, mass warp-ins. But I now am able to get all the way up to max supply with no hassle. These void rays, for however long they last, will give me vision over pretty much everything on the high ground and help me to just generally do stuff. I begin to dip. I'm actually on the same high ground as my opponent at the moment. The ramp begins there. It's quite an interesting map design, but send in the chargelets to begin to take down, but I pull back and think better of it. I actually lost quite a lot of army supply there, and I've now lost quite a lot of, well, I've lost a lot of units, and it's a lot of resources because most of those were void rays actually, but I've lost, that was a task force of 8, so I've lost 2, and a couple, well, one of them isn't looking too good. But I bring my army up, ready for a counter, but nothing happens. Bring my void rays in to give me vision, and I eventually decide to go for it, not bothering to wait for the not bothering to wait for anything, but by the time this attack's over, there will be shields 1, and there will be armor 3. So a massive death ball attack. All the bunkers going down. Void Ray's focusing down the battle cruiser. One Void Ray goes down, the other Void Rays. And then there's a blink right underneath the battle cruiser. Completely surrounds all the marauders. I am losing units at quite a steady rate. But units killed. I'm slowly getting further and further. Well, catching up slightly more and more. Beginning to take down the doors. And if we look at army supply, he's actually ahead at the moment, but I've still got my 2 immortals, and these marines aren't going to be that much of a hassle. I'll begin warping in more stalkers as I see fit, and then there's the Vikings, completely unable to do anything in the sky, jumping down, but they get taken out before they can really do anything. Those immortals with 3-2, well, level 3 weapons, completely destroying the starports. And that one marine trying to escape, but he gets shot for deserting his duty. And presumably what would have been a marine task force to try and infiltrate my base gets taken out. He has actually got 2-2 weapons, but I have the weapon advantage because I think that 3-3 is finished for me. So I'm now a full 100, not 100, full 1 weapon tier above him. Another battle cruiser comes out, however I'm able to focus it down before it manages to do too much. And then I decide to be a bit cheeky, because I see his, like, 17 missile turrets. And it's a tiny bit BM, but just being a little cheeky because it's something that is all too common a problem. Begin to take down the factories before they can produce any more Thors. And I won't do a Thor impression because I can't do a German accent that well, which is strange given that I've taken German at school for the best part of 7 years? Not 7. Yes, the best part of 7 years actually. But begin just gradually marching through his base. And there's the GG. And we go into a tiny bit of conversation here, if I recall correctly. But I continue to warp stuff in and destroy stuff. I say well played because he has actually played quite well. He managed to successfully defend a Void Ray rush, but then he overcompensated and that's where he lost in the game. If he spent those like 2,000 minerals which he spent on missile turrets or whatever missile turrets, or whatever the cost was, if he spent that on marines, he might, or marine marauder, he might have actually been able to hold off this attack. But that's one of the things, once you get into sort of, oh, I think he's definitely doing the strat, it's hard to get out of that. And he's going to keep just sort of generally producing units, just finishing off the game nicely. I bring 8 more stalkers up, just helps me finish things off quicker. Those 2 SCVs desperately trying to repair those barracks, and there's him leaving the game. So a pretty solid game, both of us getting pretty far into the late game. He didn't actually use these 5 Vikings up here, but I don't think they would have done much difference, mainly because my income at the end of the game, 1,500 per minute. And if we actually look at the average APM, if I can remember the keyboard shortcuts, I'll just use this because anyway. So average APM, it's 33. That awesome Bonds League APM. And then EPM, I have higher EPM. But that's the game. And that is yet another TVP. I promise that I will try and get some more either ZVPs or TVPs up. But it might be difficult because it depends whether I can get games that don't have, well, good quality games that don't have cheese, that don't have BM in, that are generally good quality games against either. And that's hard when 90% of my matches are against Terran. So anyway, with that over and done with, I shall see you guys in the next replay.